journey to America, and there's that something humorous in it, something dramatic. Maybe we can have both in it. 1994, I was asked to return to the United States and start training in biodynamics, also to bring the knowledge of gardening with children to America. Because I had been a gardening teacher at a water school, at 2 water schools, at Stuttgart and in Heidenheim for over 20 years. So my family and I, we came to America in 1996 in August, and I started to renovate the garden. Am I talking too loud? I started to renovate and take into cultivation the garden that Ehrenfried Pfeiffer had worked in Spring Valley. It was a great joy. 2 months after we arrived, all the pictures are from where we are now in Virginia, just to let you know, in the Honeybee sanctuary that we are building up. There was an article in the New York Times, The Hush of the Hives. No bees in the hives anymore. People had lost 70, 80, 90, 100% of their bees. And since I had learned a lot from Thomas Radetzky and Günther Friedman and others, I thought I should spread some of the knowledge, because everybody thought that it is the varroa mite alone that was killing the bees, but I knew that it was also our beekeeping that was killing the bees. So 2 months after that article, I was invited by Hawthorne Valley, by the farm, by Steffen and Rachel Schneider, and I gave my first workshop there. And in the meantime, I had traveled to 26 states and given many, many workshops on biodynamics and biodynamic beekeeping. In that time, I had talked to Hartmut von Geetzin, a farmer in America. Both his parents were at the agriculture lectures in Koblenz here in Germany. And a dream arose, a wish arose to maybe after my retirement that I would start a biodynamic farm with a honeybee sanctuary, because the honeybees became more and more important the more dramatic the decline of the honeybees were. So in the year 2000, 2001, I wrote the book Towards Saving the Honeybee. That was a time when in the public, there was no mention about that beekeeping methods are part of the problem. Not only pesticides and insecticides and all that, but beekeeping itself would be a problem. It's the other way around. This is Virginia, beautiful land there in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And it's sort of the opposite of the political time that time. You know, George W. Bush said the axis of evil is over there in North Korea and Afghanistan and so on. And I said the axis of evil is right here. And I keep telling that. So the dream that I had, I shared it with a friend. We worked on it for 5 years, and it became clearer and clearer where and what and how, and became so clear that I got a call one day from a woman whom I didn't know. And I said, why are you calling me? And she said, I am selling a land in San Diego, California, and I will get about $2 million, and I want to do something good with it. Do you have any ideas? I did have an idea. And in that conversation, she said, I will buy the land for you. This is the generosity that also lives in America. Not only that it is a land of the unlimited impossibilities. So to make the story short, I finished the Pfeiffer Center, which I had started and worked for 11 years there. And 2 weeks later, my wife and I, we were in Illinois on 600 acres, which we started to transform with the biodynamic preparations. And 2 years later, it got the organic certification, probably one of the biggest farms in Illinois with certification. But Illinois, it is in the heartland of America, and the heart has been damaged greatly. We were in a very hostile environment with Monsanto and genetically manipulated corn and soy all around us. And after 2 years, it became very clear that we had to move. There were several reasons. And we were invited to come to Virginia. And we accepted, and there we are in the Blue Ridge Mountains now. That's part of our sanctuary. We are on 25 acres, that's about 9 hectares. But we are surrounded by pastures and forests and an organically certified farm next door to us. So right away, that was 2009 when we came there, and we started building up the sanctuary physically and giving workshops and courses. 2 years ago, we started a training that goes over 2 years, where we actually go deeper into observation exercises, into anthroposophy, into biodynamics. So we start out with old Saturn. And 30 people come from 16 states, all the way from California over. It's unimaginable in Germany that you would drive twice a year for 2 years, 4 times, over to Turkey or further to a course for 3 days. You know? Distances are much broader there. So we are very fortunate. We have a non-profit organization, so most of what we need comes through gifts. And this is how the Spirit works. That, you know, you get a call when things are right, you get a call. So 4 months ago, my wife was talking to a carpenter who was making a beautiful hand-carved door for our new pavilion. And she told him what we are doing with the bees, for the bees. And he said, "Do you have any projects?" She said, "Yeah, we have projects, we have things we have to do." And he said, "Why don't you write down 4 projects that you want to do next, and then give them to me?" And that's what we did. And then we were invited a few months later to one of those really nice big rooms with desks about that long, you know, and 4 people were there, a lawyer and 3 brothers. And we were asked about what we were doing and what the projects were for 2 hours. And we left thinking, well, okay, maybe nothing will come of it. Half an hour later, we met one of these people in the restaurant, and he came to us and said, "We can help you." And my wife said, "Well, which project are you going to help us with?" "All of them." So we got $90,000 from them, and so we are building a bathhouse now and a few other things to slowly build up the sanctuary. What we have in the sanctuary are 5 different hive shapes. So the traditional Magazinbeute, Langstroth hive, the War 8 hive, the top bar hive, a horizontal hexagonal hive, a vertical hexagonal hive. This year we will add the sun hive, which our first course gave us as a gift. And I had that already at the Pfeiffer Center in the 90s. And we are working on another hive that it would be specifically good for that area, because we do get a very cold weather there too. We are up in the mountains. So the people experiencing how we work with the bees, we work without protection, which is more unusual in America than here in Europe. As a matter of fact, the inspector for our area, the bee inspector, was in 2 of my workshops. In the first one, he was the only one all suited up. And we were handing the frames with bees around, and I prepare the bees before that. Of course, the day before, I know which hive I will open and ask the bees to be friendly, and only sting the ones that need it. Which is pretty rare. We have on those 25 acres also some bottom land by the river, and this is the mustard zip, which I still sowed by hand, not by machine. So my apprentices learn how to do it the old way. And of course, that's a beautiful forage for the bees there. Or we create, beautiful areas there. Now, what we do with the bees is, I think, according to the ideas of what comes out of anthroposophy, we respect the great bee, what the Americans call the great bee, the group soul of the bee. So we don't have any foundation, we let them build a natural comb. We don't wire any foundation, because I ask the women sometimes, do you want your womb, your uterus, to be wired where the babies are going to grow? Nobody ever said yes. We leave them all the honey. We weigh, in the fall, we weigh the hives and distribute the honey, and we take the honey in the spring when the dandelion blooms again and the orchard blooms again. That's when we get the real surplus. We just sell it twice as expensive as the other people do. And people love it and really appreciate it. So all these pictures come from, my wife has the patience for these pictures. Some of the great medicinals, Motherwort, Herzgespann, and bees do love to dance on the flowers too. We work, and beautiful formations of clouds up there, classes that sit and meditate by the hives and try to get in tune with what colony really is. And how we open the hive, yes, we use a little smoke, that's the doorbell, of course. And, but how we open, how we care for the hives, a lot of people come and say that this has changed my life, not only the beekeeping, it goes much deeper, where they learn about the spiritual part. This is a top-bar hive that was made by a friend, and some of our hives were in the 7-star formation, and so bit by bit, a warrior hive, we don't open it up all year long. But one of these gave us 4 swarms one year, a little too much. And things are changing in the animal world. You know, usually you have a swarm in May or a swarm in June. There's even a saying, a swarm in May is worth a load of hay, a swarm in June is worth a silver spoon, a swarm in July isn't worth a fly, which isn't true. A swarm in August, I haven't the foggiest. But this year we had a swarm in September. So I created a new verse for that. A swarm in September, I'll always remember. And this year we had a swarm in October. And I thought, a swarm in October, I don't think I am sober. this is suicide. You know, they cannot build up if you don't get them. So we have some wonderful, wonderful experiences with the bees. My wife gave up her therapeutic activity and she brings that into the bees, and also her artistic way. And here we are trying to build up physically, and that is very important for Americans who want to experience things. They don't just want to hear about it, they want to experience it. So consciously we are working not only with one hive, because there's a pro and con for every hive shape. And we don't want to tell people, if you want to do it well, you have to have this. You can do a lot for the bees with any hive. And so we try to accept everyone, and we talk to people who call themselves rednecks. I don't know, do you know the term redneck? A redneck is somebody who may work auf dem Bau, you know, in construction all day outside. Then he drinks his beer and watches television in the evening. That's a redneck. And votes Republican. And they're proud of it. Proud of it. And in Illinois, one guy came up to me, a real, you know, on Sunday they go shooting to practice. He came up, he said, challenging me, I'm a redneck. I pulled down my shirt, I said, me too. And we became friends. Of course, we don't talk politics. I'll tell you about a very dramatic experience we had. I had a year and a half ago. I never had experienced a person who went into shock from a bee sting. And my assistant, Jane, and I was just catching a swarm way up there, and it was difficult. It was just very difficult to get, and all of a sudden she disappears. And when I got the swarm and I went up to the meadow, and she's lying in the grass. And she said, get the EpiPen. You know, EpiPen is the medicine that you have to jab into your thigh. I said, where is it? She fortunately knew. I got the EpiPen and I read it. You have to put it into the thigh. So I took her pants off and jammed it into her thigh. Later on I realized, I read that you don't have to take the pants off. EpiPen works on the heart. So her breathing, she couldn't breathe anymore. She said, I'm dying. I said, no, you're not dying here. You are not allowed to die in the sanctuary. And for 15 minutes I was holding her and showing her how to breathe and all that till the rescue squad came and took care of it and took her to the hospital. But it was a very dramatic experience for me. So now I know where the EpiPen is. I've never seen that before. She went and got a therapy for it, immunization for that. And after 3 months, she was able to get a sting and not have a reaction. So that was a great lesson. And she's very grateful, because if that would have happened to her taking a walk somewhere, she might be dead now. So these are the experiences we have at the sanctuary. And every year we don't know how we finish it, because we rely on donations. We don't have the donation from the government and so on. all the money goes into research which virus and which fly and which bacteria and fungus is killing the bees. Up to this time, people, the beekeeping profession is not ready to say, I am doing my part for that. And this is the task that we have. This was the biggest swarm that I ever had. I give a workshop on swarming. And just about every time a swarm comes. This one came in from away, not from our bees, because I saw that with a queen later. And I just stood there and I thought, how the hell will I get that in a box? It took 2 boxes. And my wife was holding the first box, and you know, those of you who are beekeepers, if a swarm travels for 2-3 days and it runs out of food, that's when even a swarm gets aggressive. And a lot of bees fell on her, and she got like 40 stings at one time. And she said they all stung at once. All at once. She finished the workshop, but when we got home, she said, I think I have to go to bed. She had a fever for about a day and a half, and I was happy because a fever is healthy. So that was her initiation. And amazing what happens, you know, that the bees serve us such beautiful ways. I have one wish, if I can, you know, in California, 15 minutes are not long. Take 2 more minutes. If we take it seriously, what Steiner said, a real queen. Yeah, I just run you through a few pictures. I have one that I want to show you. My wife took that picture, and I watched it, I saw it, and then one day I jumped out of my chair. Very few beekeepers have seen that in practice. Where is that? I don't know how many of you seen that. She's sweating wax. Very few, you don't see it often. So she takes fantastic pictures, and we're going to have postcards for sale in a few months. In America, you have to also not only rely on donations, you have to also work and see how you put out courses and so on. But what I want to say is, Steiner at the very beginning of these bee lectures says, much more than you say, our lives depend on it. And in lecture 7 and 8, he explains it, that it is the formic acid which keeps nature alive. In America, we had 7.5 million colonies in 1980. Now we have 2 or 2.5 million. 50,000 bees in one hive in the height of the summer. How many bees are lacking? The coastal oaks are dying. The ashes are dying. The beeches are dying. Nature is suffering already. And I wonder why there can't be money for the research that out of anthroposophy we can say, Steiner said it, and now we know, we can prove it, that formic acid is what keeps plants alive. Without that, we don't have future incarnations. Everybody should not go home and eat their Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. We should really all jump up and say, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Can we prove it? I don't think it's going to be easy, but if we can do it, it would be great. So, thank you for